Canola oil is toxic. Here's how it's made. It starts with the seeds of a rape plant, which are completely toxic to humans. In order to make canola oil, these plants must be specially bred to lower the levels of erucic acid, a toxic fatty acid strongly associated with heart lesions. These seeds are then ground at high temperatures to extract the fragile oil, which is inevitably oxidized because of this harsh process. This oil must then be washed with solvents like hexane, a known neurological toxin. Then it must be processed with bleaching and deodorization so it doesn't smell rancid like it really is. After all of these steps, the canola oil is left oxidized, contaminated with solvents, and containing significant levels of trans fatty acids. And this oil is marketed to you as healthy by the American Heart Association and found in so many of our foodstuffs today. If you want to be healthy, get this damaged oil out of your diet completely.
Hey, welcome to Dino Reacts, the place where we take our ignorance to excellence. Today, we're going to talk about the health benefits of certain oils, how they're going to benefit your body, how they can be cancerous towards your body, and which oils you should choose to maintain long-lasting health. We are always on this channel trying to raise our consciousness and take those of us that need a little bit more education to a place of higher learning. And as always, let's get after it. So yeah, today we have Dr. Paul Saladino, and he's going to teach us about the oils that we should avoid and the essential oils that we should use to maintain a healthy body when we are preparing our food. So let's get into it.
A cast iron pan, what are you supposed to cook with? Whether you're cooking meat or you're cooking vegetables or you're cooking something else in a pan, I'm going to go through all of that in this video and show you guys what I think are good cooking oils, what I think are bad cooking oils, and what I think are not so great cooking oils. And I think you're going to be surprised because I bet you that a lot of the oils that you're cooking with or that you think are good are things that I am not going to recommend. So first things first, let's...
All right, before he gets started into talking about what oils that he think are suggested good, I'm gonna speak onto what I use. I predominantly use vegetable oil and olive oil. Those are my two oils I use, and of course butter. You know, but butter is considered a solid. But for me, it's mostly, for most of my cooking, I cook with vegetable oil. I like it because it has a very, very slow burn point. Like it can take on high heat before it gets to a smoke point and creates a flavor or taste in my food that tastes toxic. And olive oil, which I don't usually cook with, you know what I'm saying, I season with, it's better for I like putting it in my pico de gallo. I like putting olive oil also in my guacamole or my or definitely in my smashed potatoes. But like I'm not one to cook with it. So like one olive oil I would consider a garnishing / salad dressing type of oil, while vegetable oil is like my everyday cooking. And I got that from my grandmother because we weren't using canola oil, we weren't using grapeseed oil, you know what I'm saying? And through dating, I've been introduced to, like, you know, avocado oils and things of that nature, but that just wasn't a part of my culture and how I was raised. But for me, it was vegetable oil and olive oil. But let's continue.
Start with your pan. Please cook in a stainless steel pan. Please do not use a non-stick pan for obvious reasons. The predominant one being Teflon, also known as PTFE, which can aerosolize when you heat the pan, can cause lung issues, irritating for people with asthma or not.
Okay. The problem with PFSS pans is, I'm just stopping it right here to give us a little bit more time to read it. I'm not going to read it out loud, but if you want to read it for yourself, I stopped the video right here to give us a little bit more time to read it. But let's continue on.
If that PTFE flakes off, you're going to end up eating it. It could potentially be harmful and endocrine disrupting. So the pan that you're using is the first thing to think about. Use a stainless steel or a cast iron skillet. And if you're worried about it sticking to the stainless steel pan, there's something called the mercury ball effect. If you just get the pan hot enough so that you can throw some oil on the pan and it makes little balls of water that run around the pan, that kind of dance around the pan, you know the pan is hot enough. If you put oil on the pan when it's that hot, you won't have many problems with sticking, even on a stainless steel pan, which is about the cleanest thing you can cook on. Some people worry about cast iron because they're getting more iron in their food. I guess this depends on your baseline iron status. We've got seed oils on one end, things like canola or margarine, which is a lot of soybean oil. We've got olive, avocado, coconut, I got some tallow from Lineage, super proud of that. And I've got some raw butter, which you could also make into ghee. So let's start with the seed oils. As you guys know, I'm a huge fan of seed oils. This is something you should never even have in your home. I feel bad even having it in my kitchen. I use it as a prop, but seed oils are a horrible thing to cook with. They have tons of polyunsaturated fats, which are fats that have multiple double bonds. This makes the fats very susceptible to oxidation when you heat them. I don't even think you should use them as a salad dressing if you don't heat them, because they've been heated, refined, bleached, and deodorized even before they come to you, and they're sitting in this plastic bottle on the shelf of the grocery store for God knows how long. I believe that seed oils, because of this heavy industrial processing, are basically toxic for humans from the moment they end up on a grocery shelf and have no place in the human diet. Humans have never consumed seed oils without consuming seeds or nuts in our history until the last 110 years. This is a very recent addition to the human diet, and though correlation is not causation, there is a massive decline in our health over the last 110 years since things like this and ultra-processed foods, which often contain them, were introduced into our diets. Previous to that, they were used as engine lubricants. And in World War II, canola oil had a great role lubricating parts on ships because canola oil apparently stays slippery even when it's wet. Shout out to Bon Jovi. So these are great engine lubricants. If you need something oiled in your house, canola oil, maybe a little margarine, that's fantastic. They're not food for humans. They've never been food for us. I've done tons of videos on the science of seed oils, the randomized controlled trials, showing seed oils are harmful, evidence showing that when you consume seed oils, whether it's soybean oil or other seed oils, increased oxidation of LDL happens. That's a lipoprotein particle in your blood, also known as the quote-unquote bad cholesterol. That's a whole separate story. Regardless, oxidized LDL increases along with a marker of cardiac risk known as Lp(a) when you consume seed oils. So all of those things taken together, along with the fact that humans have never consumed these, I think we can just say, using a little common sense and intuition, these are a horrible thing to be eating in your diet, whether you're heating them or not. If you're curious about lipoproteins, LDL, and cholesterol, I'll put links in the description regarding those things as well. Before I move on from seed oils to olive and avocado oil, I want to talk about smoke point versus peroxidation index. A lot of people think that smoke point of an oil is an indication of the oil's damage, and if it's a higher smoke point, it's okay to cook with it. This is false.
See, that's exactly what I just said earlier in the video. I was taught, I'm a chef by the way, so I was taught the exact opposite. If it has a high smoke point, it's more dangerous. So I'm always watching for things that have low smoke points. Because if it's smoky, it's toxic. That was just standard to me. But what he said about the canola oil, I mean, kind of threw me off. But I want to see, I'm waiting to hear if he says something specifically about vegetable oil, because I should do a little bit more research to understand if vegetable oil is a seed oil, because I really like the smoke point on vegetable oil. Like I've gotten really good flavor, really good consistency, and no burn in my food when it comes to smoke point. But I definitely got it with canola. There's a difference between canola and vegetable oil to me, but he's not really speaking under that. But I also wanted to state again what he said about the plastic bottles. I do have an issue with microplastics. You know what I'm saying? My environmental side does tell me that when I buy my olive oils to put them into a glass bottle, saying a reusable glass bottle at home. So I definitely agree with him on that.
This is pretty much false. What you care about when you're cooking with an oil is the peroxidation index, the likelihood, the propensity of that oil to oxidize, to become rancid and damaged. And oils that contain more polyunsaturated fats, like linoleic acid, present in these seed oils, or even omega-3 polyunsaturated fats, like alpha-linolenic acid, which are even more unsaturated than linoleic acid, those fats are very unstable. When you heat those fats, like in soybean oil with a significant amount of linoleic acid, but also alpha-linolenic acid, those are going to oxidize, become rancid, damaged, and form lipid peroxides very quickly. So smoke point is not an indication of how safe it is to cook with an oil from an oxidation standpoint. What you are looking for is the peroxidation index of an oil. Actually have these kind of lined up in that order anyway, and I'll show you these as we go through, but the more saturated an oil is, the lower the peroxidation index of that oil is going to be, and the safer it is going to be to cook with. So that smoke point is a misleading term. Don't use that. Think about the peroxidation index of your oil. So having said that, let's talk about olive and then avocado oils. Up until the 1990s, olive oil wasn't really a thing in American households, but it's a big deal now. And it's a decent oil. It's much better than seed oils. Olive oil has a place on your salad, potentially. If you're of the persuasion of eating salads, olive oil might be great for that, with a few caveats. That is ideally organic, cold-pressed, housed in glass that is opaque, and single source. Majority of olive oils, when studies are done, are cut with seed oils. because this is big business. And it's much cheaper to make an olive oil if you put in some sneaky soybean oil into that olive oil. If you have a single source olive oil that is organic, cold pressed in opaque glass, it is much less likely that it is going to be cut with a vegetable oil. So know the quality of your olive oil.
There it is.
The other thing to consider about olive oil is that olive oil is about 10 to 15, sometimes even 20% linoleic acid. That is an omega-6, 18 carbon, polyunsaturated fatty acid that will oxidize when you cook it. So the peroxidation index of olive oil is lower than seed oils, but it's much higher than more saturated fats like coconut, tallow, butter, or ghee. So I do not think that olive oil is a healthy fat to cook with because you're going to break the oil. You're going to damage the oil. And I know this is surprising you guys, but knowledge is power. Know better, do better. Do not cook with olive oil, guys. There are much better oils to cook with. The same is basically true for avocado oil. This is a more recent addition to our palates in the United States, particularly. Only since the late 1990s, early 2000s has this even been a thing. And just like olive oil, a lot of avocado oil is similarly cut with seed oils. Avocado oil has a significant amount of ALA. That's that omega-3 fatty acid that you don't want to heat. Alpha-linolenic acid. You have an oil that's, again, not great for cooking. You are going to oxidize the oil. It is going to become partially rancid when you heat olive and avocado. Both of these may be okay on your salad. Again, if you're of the persuasion of salads, in the lining of cans for olive oil and avocado oil, there is plastic, and that plastic contains endocrine-disrupting chemicals. These endocrine-disrupting chemicals are lipophilic. They associate with lipids, and oils are lipids. Olive, avocado, not for cooking. I know, see, right? Told you you'd learn something. What do I think you should cook with? The more saturated fats. Saturated fat has gotten a bad rap for so long, guys, but if you really look at the medical research, it's a totally healthy fat for humans.
Yeah, he's right. Before he gets to describing the saturated fats, also, like I said earlier in the video, like I do cook with butter. Like butter is my go-to for most cooking, for sauteing, everything. Vegetable oil is for things that more or less of things I want to fry in, or making tortillas, when the oil that I want to make fresh tortillas at home and things of that nature. But 99.9% of the food I cook with is with butter. But now I want to learn a little bit more on what butters I should use. He mentioned this lager. He mentioned that looks like coconut butter. That looks like raw butter. He's talking about ghee. But I'm always I like sweet butter. That's what I was raised in. That's what my grandma gave me. So that'll be really good and flavorful.
Worst, it's neutral from a cardiovascular perspective, and I would argue that there are many studies suggesting that saturated fats are healthy for humans, especially the 18-carbon saturated fat stearic acid or the odd-chain fatty acids, which are 15 and 17 carbons in length, pentadecanoic acid and heptadecanoic acid. These odd-chain fatty acids, found primarily in dairy fats like this butter or ghee, these are consistently and strongly associated with improved health outcomes in humans. Not a lot of plant-based people are telling you about that. So when it comes to these saturated fats, which will generally be solid at room temperature unless you're living in the desert under 100-degree heat, you have coconut and you have butter. It will come as no surprise to you that tallow and butter are my favorite fats. I do favor the animal fats over the plant fats. I'm super proud of what we've built at Lineage Provisions. We've got the meat sticks, we've got our all-in-one protein powder, and now we've got clearly the best grass-fed tallow in the world. I mean, you can just see the color of that tallow is incredible. It's the most orange, yellow tallow I've ever seen, suggesting that the cows are eating lots of good nutrient-rich grass. You guys are going to love this tallow. The texture is incredibly smooth as well.
Good.
So
really
Lineage tallow, huge fan of that. You can also use butter or coconut oil. Why do I prefer the animal fats over?
I'm going to order some tallow, and I'll do a small little cooking video of me using it, and then I'll talk about the flavor of what comes out of it. I'm saying something real simple, like grilled cheese sandwich. But yeah, I really like that butter. It really looks good. It really looks smooth. And did you see did you see in the pan, how once it hit the pan, how it just went really clear, no smoke, clean? I'm pretty sure its wavy content is probably fucking absolutely perfect. You can really get a good saute on your rice in there before you add your chorizo. I think so beef is that beef fat with rice and beef chorizo. Oh, I want it.
The plant fats. Animal fats are just going to have more of the fat-soluble vitamins because the cows are eating grass. This is vitamin A, vitamin E, vitamin D, and vitamin K, including vitamin K2, which has been consistently associated with better cardiovascular outcomes in humans. So animal fats are a health food. They contain nutrients that are vital for humans: stearic acid, odd-chain fatty acids, fat-soluble vitamins in these fats, and these are much more stable. So this has a lower peroxidation index than olive and avocado, and a much lower peroxidation index than a seed oil. No big surprise there. In case you guys don't know what tallow is, this is rendered beef fat. So you make tallow by collecting fat from an animal, either from around the kidneys, which is called the perinephric fat, or the suet, or the trim fat on cuts of steak throughout the animal, and you take those cuts.
I'm the chef at Mastro's in Malibu, our steakhouse, and for myself, when I'm making steaks for myself, I take the fat scrapings and I render the fat. It's just really slow. Just throw the fat in the pan on low heat and render it slowly. Make sure you stir the fat to make sure it doesn't stick to the bottom and burn, but you can render out fat slowly. We also use that technique to make our Wagyu butter. So from that on, I just took that and I used that beef fat to pan sear my steak in, basted with a little bit of rosemary, garlic. Oh my God, it's tasty as hell. Listen, salt, pepper, basil, garlic, and beef fat. If you do it correctly, it is a perfect state flavor-wise. Don't forget your rest period. You always need to rest for the blood. But man, it's tasty. But I didn't realize I was doing that just because the chef mind says fat is flavor. I don't want to use butter, even though it is a fat. But now that I understand that beef fat is a thing, I'm gonna pick this up and I'm gonna work this into my diet, or just work it into my my grocery list. So every 2 weeks when I go to buy groceries, that gets immediately thrown into the list. It's the same thing. Like my lady keep telling me that I like beef jerky. It's my new thing. I've never been a really big beef jerky person. My lady been giving it to me all the time, and I still forget when I go to the market to do my own shopping for myself to just go down to beef jerky aisle and throw it in there and throw a couple in the bag. She always asks me, "Did you buy jerky?" And I'm like, "No," because it's like I have a 40-year plus mental Rolodex of what I need to eat. It's just consistent, and I eat pretty healthy. I'm in really good shape. I feel like my skin, everything's pretty vibrant. But this, I'm still always trying to take whatever level of ignorance. I can have educated ignorance to a new level of excellence. And learning this about oils is really going to help me out because I want to live a little bit longer, have a lot more energy, so I can have a chance to achieve higher goals from the goals I've completed today. And I really see this as an opportunity to dig in. And just what you put in is what you'll give out. So I put better things into my body, put better things into my spirit, put better things into my heart, put better things into my mind. I'll have the opportunity to speak better, talk better, give better, act better, be in more integrity. It's one day at a time. It's a battle, but it can be done. And it all starts with food. Well, of course, you know what I mean.
Fat, and you heat them gently, rendering the fat so the fat goes from solid to liquid, then it recongeals when you cool it. And then churning and churning and churning, and you end up with butter. Most butter is from pasteurized milk, which has been heated. If you can find butter from milk that hasn't been heated, you will end up with something called a raw butter, which I think is the best form of butter that you're going to find. But if you can't find raw butter, look for something that's organic and grass-fed, and I think that'll be your best option. Coconut oil is another good cooking fat. Again, I don't use it because I feel like the animal fats are going to have more of those fat-soluble vitamins in them, and I would prefer to get these. If you want to use coconut oil, it's going to be much better than olive, avocado, or seed oils for cooking, but coconut oil doesn't have much of that stearic acid in it. Stearic acid is that 18-carbon saturated fat that has been associated with leanness in animal models consistently, and in humans has been shown to positively.
Okay, well, the video ended right here. Basically, what he's going to say at the end of this video is this is basically the stats on the dietary stearic acid regulates mitochondria in via humans. You can get into that later, but that is the end of the clip right there. Well, as you can see, there are always ways that we can improve ourselves when it comes to what we intake into our bodies. Starting from seed oils, which I now have learned that vegetable oil is a seed oil. I always thought it was like multi-vegetables. That's, even as a chef, it shows my ignorance. It's kind of funny. And then I've always understood that olive oil was a dressing oil, not a cooking oil, because olives burn too hard, and I just don't like the taste of burnt olives. But I can definitely see how it can have the same conclusion when it comes to avocado oil. Moving on to coconut oil, I'm black. That has always been for my skin or my hair. I ain't gonna never cook with that. That's just how it is. Moving from that on over into taro, which is animal fat oils. Beef fat oils is something that I never thought about going out and buying, but I've done it in the restaurant, so mine. I don't know why I didn't put two and two together. That means, like, it's funny, you could be doing something your whole life, but never put that into practice permanently. But now that I know that it's there, I'm gonna throw that in. And raw butter I've used multiple times, but once again, only in restaurants. When I'm at home, I'm out there buying my margarine, you know? I'm getting my normal stuff, heavy fat. But now that I have learned this lesson today, I'm going to do what is necessary to bring those types of oils and foods into my life so I can have a better health and better living. I hope this information helped you out today, and I hope that when you are cooking and processing your foods at home, you do it in a more constructive and a more healthy way to provide nutrients for yourself, your family, and your loved ones. And I'm happy to share this information with you. As always, thanks. That's right. Thank you so much for watching Dino Reacts. And if you like my content, like, comment, and subscribe. And as always, chef's kiss. Mwah.